look at me.
I can. That was terrifying.
Good catch, Meg. Why are you catching that box?
Because today's video is sponsored by Bombas.
Yeah, keeps your feet in socks. Now what's great about it is they have all different kinds of socks, but we really like the merino wool ones. They're sweat wicking, they're antimicrobial, and when you purchase a pair of Bombas socks, they give a pair to someone in need. You'd be surprised how many people need dry socks and how foot health really plays into overall health. So it's a really nice thing they're doing. And if you want to get 20% off your first purchase, Meg, what do?
You go to the website, bombas.com, and for your first purchase, you will get 20% when you use code BITR20.
Hi, I'm Thomas with Believe in the Run.
This is Megan with Believe in the Run.
And you're in for some special stuff today. Meg is the queen of cush around here, loves a cushion shoe. So when we heard that we were getting the Superblast in from Asics, we were pretty psyched. We heard a lot of hype about it from Asics, and then we got to try it. So we're gonna tell you what we feel about it. It's actually not that complicated of a shoe.
Yeah, so today we're talking about the Asics Superblast.
Superblast. All right, so let's just get into the boring stuff first, the upper, because Meg, I usually go a half size down in Asics, and I have to say, this one felt a little snug at a half size down. I wear a 10.5 normally, and this one's a 10. It fits correctly, but it is a little shorter, so if you're on that edge between, maybe you'd stick with your regular size.
Yeah, I stuck with my normal size 7.5. I did feel like there was plenty of room in the forefoot, but not too much, so yeah, I would definitely maybe stick with your original size. The mesh upper, super simple, which I love. It's just one piece. Instead of calling it a gusseted tongue, now they're calling it a wing design.
Which, I'm fine, wings, gussets, whatever. What that means is, on both sides of the tongue, there's elastic on this one that holds it in place, which also gives you a nice little lockdown over the foot. I liked it. I wore it with thick socks, I wore it with thin socks. Seemed to work out just fine.
Yeah, the laces are typical, flat, stretchy. They do a fine job of just locking the foot down and keeping it in place. You do have some decent padding here through the collar and heel, which I liked.
I will say that I did get a little bit, I had to adjust the laces a little bit for a little bit of heel lift. It wasn't significant. It wasn't like some shoes. I'm only bringing it up because it was minor enough to say, hey, yeah, there's a little bit of play there. You could obviously, I didn't even need to do the runner's loop, which you could have done if I was really concerned about it. Other than that, it just fits pretty normal. And then you get down to the magic.
So obviously you can see this giant slab of foam here. So we have 45.5 millimeters in the heel.
Illegal!
37.5 in the forefoot, so 8 millimeter drop here. Plenty of cush, two different foams. You have the Flytefoam Turbo, and underneath of that, the Flytefoam Blast Plus.
But you just like blew right over the fact that this has got 45 millimeters of stack.
45.5.
45.5 millimeters of stack in this. That's a large platform you're sitting on top of, the turbo foam. The turbo foam kind of, the characteristic of it, I would say, is light, airy, almost like hollow feeling. It's got a weird hollow. It's not particularly squishy.
What other shoes is it in? Another Asics shoes?
Sky Plus, Metaspeed Sky Plus, Metaspeed Sky Edge.
So
it's
your
in their
Fast
Fast
A
A shoes.
The Turbo is an interesting foam. The Blast Plus underneath is that soft, cushy foam, which I really, really like. But it is under that giant slab of the Turbo, so you are feeling that firmer, like, it's not dense, it's light, it's airy, but it's not
really
squishy.
hard to describe.
Yeah.
It like I said, it's kind of got a hollow feel to it. You can see it's not that flexible. What you're getting with the Flytefoam Blast Plus on the bottom, its version of it doesn't even feel that soft like it does in the Novablast. But then with the turbo on top, so think of this as like a Novablast Metaspeed kind of baby squished together. Like if you could take both shoes and put it together.
A little fat baby.
A little fat baby, you know, like the little Michelin arms.
tire,
yeah, we both went there.
Yeah.
It is pretty stable for the stack height. It is surprisingly stable.
Well, you do have a really nice wide platform, so plenty of ground here that I think just really stabilizes you.
Yeah, and you finish this off with some AHAR Plus rubber. People who were running in the Novablast who were like, I don't know if I love the grip on the bottom of the Novablast. That's not AHAR Plus, that's just regular AHAR. AHAR Plus is a little more grippy. It's gonna give you a little bit more traction. Meg, you were, this morning we had wet roads and wet bridges. you were telling me that this
yeah,
worked pretty
so
well.
there is a particular bridge in Baltimore that when it gets wet, it is very slippery. It's kind of like a I don't even know what the material is, but anyway, I took a gamble with these and ran over it, and all you heard was a lot of squeaking,
Squeak, squeak.
but no issue with traction.
I was really kind of expecting something different. When you're standing in it and walking in it, it gives you a different impression than when you're running in it.
Going into this, knowing that this was Asics Max cushion shoe, I was expecting, in my mind, something a little softer, a little squishier, more of that recovery day ride. I feel like with this shoe, it does take a little bit of a break-in period. In fact, the first couple runs I did in this, I was unsure of how I felt about it. It's firmer than I was expecting, and just didn't have that responsiveness and bounce and maybe squishy ride that I was anticipating with a Max cushion shoe.
Yeah, I was really expecting a bounce out of this. Possibly in Tokyo. I might go with this shoe for the marathon just because it feels firm without a plate. Like, I can't really bend this that much, so you don't really need a plate. The foam itself is gonna give you that protection for the 26.2 miles, and it feels light on the foot with this much cushion.
So I think this is a great shoe for those longer runs when maybe you are picking up the pace, and less for that recovery day shoe, Max cushion, that sometimes I think we associate with.
And that is interesting because you can pick up the pace in this shoe.
I will say I have now put, I think, over 40 miles on this shoe, and the more I run in it, the more I actually enjoy it. I do feel like it does take maybe 25 plus miles before you really start
Breaking that turbo.
Yeah, before you really start to feel the bounce and the responsiveness from that foam.
Yeah, so give it a shot. If you're gonna go with this, you gotta at least get 30 plus miles on it. I also feel like the turbo might be a little bit sensitive to temperature. So we were running, when we first got the shoe, running in colder temperatures, and the shoe felt a little more hollow and less bouncy. And then later on, like today when I went for a run in it, it was like 60 degrees and it did feel a little softer, a little more bouncy. That's either break-in or temperature. Not sure which. This is a fun shoe to run in. I think that the reason why it took us so long to come to a conclusion on the shoe was when you think about that Max cushion and that height and the stack height, you're really expecting that resiliency, that bounce, and that, you know, energy bounce right back from your stride. And this doesn't really have that characteristic.
So it is quite light despite all of this cushion. So my women's size 7.5 came in at 7.4 ounces or 210 grams.
And my men's size 10 came in at 8.8 ounces or
251 grams. One last thing we need to talk about here, Thomas. How much is this gonna cost?
it is on the more expensive end. So you do have to kind of think about it like I am for maybe possibly using it for a marathon distance or a race style shoe. It's at 220. So that puts it in that super shoe for Superblast range where you're paying a premium for it. As long as we're talking about price, it might be a good time to compare it to its baby brother, Novablast 3. They look pretty similar, wouldn't you say?
Looks wise, obviously you've got quite a bit more stack over here.
Yeah. So this one at $80 less, I think I'm going with this almost all day. You aren't getting the turbo, you're just getting the Flytefoam Blast Plus.
I wouldn't call it an upgrade. I just think it's almost a different use case. This could be your long run transition into race day versus the Novablast, which I'm going to say that's your daily trainer. That's your everyday waking up and running.
The turbo has held up though. It's one of the more resilient of the super foams, so you can get your mileage out of this. I don't think that you'd have any problem getting 300 plus miles out of this shoe.
All right, Thomas, the light time. What are you giving the Asics Superblast?
I'm gonna go green.
I agree, definitely gets a green light. Like we said, there is a give period. You do need to get this foam underfoot for several miles, I think, before it comes to life.
If I had reviewed this after 20 miles, I would have given this a yellow. But as we got more miles in it, the more I liked it. So I am gonna give it a green, but I'm also gonna give it a green for what the tool is for. And this tool is gonna be great for long runs. It's gonna be great for training runs where you wanna pick it up. It's definitely your long distance pickup shoe. It's not extremely like fast underfoot.
You're not running a 5K. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, and check out the Drop podcast, which is weekly, and Fuel for the Soul podcast, which is
bi-weekly.
Yep, and one of them covers up nutrition for athletes. The other one's more kind of like fun interviews. So check them out. And of course, go ahead and check us out on Instagram, join our Strava group, and if you want to get all the news, all the places, all the time, and find out what we're doing every week, subscribe to our email. It has all our posts, all our videos, everything right there. Makes it real simple for you to keep up with Believe in the Run. So go ahead, subscribe to the email. How do you do that, Meg? You can go to our website.
You'll
and as
see.
soon as,
As soon as you get there.
as soon as you try to leave,
We'll find you.
a little thing will pop up and say, hey, subscribe to the email. Anyway, that's it. You remember lenticulars are? Lenticulars? They're the little cards that you shift like this, and it's like if you shifted it, things would move a little bit.
Sounds like a kaleidoscope.
No, it's a lenticular, but you would know it if I showed you one. Type of design.
Hologram?
No, it's a what it is, like little lines, and if you
knows what
turn
that
it this way, so like when you turn the card, like
Okay.
gives it a little motion.
I think Asics just called it asymmetrical.
It is asymmetrical, and so are lenticulars.
Okay.
Look at Google lenticular. How about
Really
that?
sticking with that.
Well, you got to. Hey, I learned some words that you got to use, and I don't
Okay.
have many chances to use it. That's one of them.